Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 Anudeep Durishetty, Shruti Sharma, and Ishita Kishore.
Hello aspirants. So in this part we are going to deal with our question as to what is politics. Okay, in the previous part we have seen that we understood the importance of concept, we understood what we mean by concept and what is the importance. This part, just understand that what do we mean by politics. Okay, meaning of politics. Again, very basic, but as I said that the whole series is actually aiming this objective, that you are ready with the most basic thing, the most foundational thing, so that you could start your PSIR optional preparation properly in the foundation course, preparing you for the foundation course. So that is the purpose. Okay, so politics, if you consider the etymology or the root word, then it is coming from Greek word polis. Okay, polis, and that means city or state. But that is not what we are going to talk about here. So that is a different thing, and then we can go on discussing about that in a separate video. But picking from that point, that understanding that you already may be having with respect to this term that is politics here. So when you use that word in your daily language, in your day-to-day language, you use that word many times. For example, you accuse someone of indulging in politics among your friends or in friend circle, on society, or in your office. There is a term called office politics. So what do you actually mean by that? I can say that when you use that word, then you use it cynically to connote something which is negative. And that cynical connotation generally means that if someone is indulging in politics, that would mean that he's pursuing certain personal interest under the guise of some public interest or under the guise of some pursuit of morals. Okay? That cynical connotation of this term suggests that if one is really pursuing some public interest, or if one is really pursuing some moral or ethical life, then that person should avoid politics. Okay, so that is what we actually mean when we say that, okay, it has some cynical connotation or negative connotation. But that cynical understanding of politics is not actually conveying the true meaning of politics. You can say that if someone is indulging in politics, that would mean that that person on some occasion is doing something or indulging in something which is immoral. Okay, it connotes something like that. And that is why a person of morals or ethics should not be indulging in politics. Okay? But the reality is that there is no escape from politics. Okay? Politics is simply inescapable. And this is something that you have to understand. And this is very much reflected in the remark made by one of the greatest thinkers that you are going to study in your foundation course in very good detail, that is Aristotle, when he says that man is a political animal. Okay, this is a statement that you are going to investigate very deeply in your foundation course, whereby he is telling you, he is actually explaining that even without having any biologically implanted desire, humans are actually political. So he will elaborate on the attributes, those very attributes that make a particular person political, or all humans political. Okay, but we are not going to go in that detail. We are going to understand the meaning of politics here. And there, we just understood that it is not having that negative connotation. Actually, the meaning is quite different. And then I said that it is inescapable. So what do I mean by saying that politics is inescapable? By saying that politics is inescapable, or there is no escape from politics, I actually mean that it is one of the most essential human activity. Okay? I said that it is one of the most essential human activity. Please understand this, because this is really important. Most essential human activity. To understand this, just think upon this question. Okay? The question is that how we humans are different from any other living beings living on this planet. So you know that life is bustling on mountains, in oceans. It is to be found everywhere. And then also there is something that distinguishes humans from any other living being on this planet. If you think on this question, you will arrive to a conclusion whereby you can say that humans are different from other living beings in their ability to reflect upon their actions, in their ability to think upon their actions before they actually perform it. That would mean that other living beings are more guided by instinct, and humans are not guided by instinct alone. So they can think upon the repercussions of those actions that they are going to perform. And because they can think upon the repercussions, they can actually change the course of action that they are going to adopt. Okay, so while doing so, what humans are actually doing? Humans are reasoning out their ways, their options, their alternatives. So humans have this ability of reasoning. This is actually something which distinguishes humans from any other living being. And adopting the same line of thinking, Aristotle also believed that the true essential nature of human beings, that is the ability of reasoning, is well reflected only when people are living in a collective life, people are living a collective life, or they are living in a community. So Aristotle was of the opinion that the true essential nature of human beings is this, that they have the ability of reasoning, and that is well reflected only when they are living in a community, in an organized collective life. Okay, so that is very much connected with his remark that man is a political animal, but that is something that we are not trying to understand here. Okay, we are trying to understand politics. Now consider a case of any political community. Political community, for this particular explanation, you can simply call it society. Okay, in more simple terms, I'm talking about society, any social group. So there will be members in that social group, any society. And then as a social group, all members of that social group many a times will need to make a certain decision. So for example, in any society, in any agrarian society, collectively they are trying to decide whether to show this crop or that crop in that particular area or that particular area. That means a collective life. In a collective life, all people will intermittently find occasions whereby they have to make a decision, a collective decision. Okay. And while they will indulge in that collective decision making, one thing which is inevitable is the disputes or the disagreements with respect to goals, with respect to aims or objectives. And even if there is agreement with respect to aims or goals or objectives that they are pursuing, then also there will be occasions whereby there will be disagreements with respect to means which are to be adopted to pursue, to attain those goals where they have agreed. Okay? So what that society, or what those members of that society or political community would do then? Definitely, in that scenario whereby they are disagreeing with each other, then also a decision must be reached. Then also some kind of decision has to be figured out, a common path has to be figured out, only then they will move forward. Are you getting this? That people having disagreements among themselves as part of a social group or a political community face this situation that they have to reach to a particular decision, and only then they can move forward. And this precisely is what we know as politics. Okay? So understand that politics would mean people having disagreements with respect to goals. If they are having agreement with respect to goals, so they will be having disagreements with respect to means to achieve those goals. And then that particular process whereby they try to figure out the most acceptable common solution to that particular problem or that particular situation that they are facing. So what politics actually means is this process of collective decision making in case of disagreements among its members, among the members of community. Okay? And one very good example here can be the case of constitution making in India. So in your polity classes, you might have come across this particular, on many occasions you find out that the constitution makers in your Constituent Assembly, they were disagreeing on certain points. They were disagreeing on many occasions. So for example, there was no agreement with respect to language issue. There were disagreements with respect to the question whether the office of governor should be popularly elected or not. There were disagreements with respect to the extent and the limitation of fundamental rights. Over the questions, for example, representation, whether reservations should be allowed or not. Okay? Many other disagreements. But finally, what they did? Finally, all the constitution makers understood that they have this situation whereby they have to come up with a document that they finally will be committing themselves to. Okay, and that they did. They did come up with a document, a final document on November 1949 that they signed on 24th January 1950, which came into effect on 26 January 1950. So what they were doing, the constitution makers in Constituent Assembly, they had disagreements. They had a particular objective, that is to come up with a constitution, and then they had disagreements with respect to the provisions of the constitution. And then they debated, they discussed, the members tried to persuade the other members. They communicated their thought. So discussion, persuasion, communication. Finally, aiming a particular solution or common solution to the common problem that they were having. Okay? So for this reason, you can say that they were indulging in politics. For the same reason again, it is also called art of possible. Politics is also called art of possible. So what the members of Constituent Assembly actually did, they practiced politics. They practiced the art of possible as they were indulging in the process of reconciliation of differences that they were having with respect to the provision of the Constitution, with a common goal to come up with a Constitution for India. Okay? So this is what I mean when I say that politics involves the process of collective decision making, which presumes initial diversity of opinions, and then it also involves the reconciliation of the disagreements that members of a community are having to reach to a common binding decision acceptable to all. Okay? Art of possible. Okay? So if a member or some members of a community do not participate in the political process, do not participate in the reconciliation process, and they take up arms and they become violent, that is a breaking point. That is a point whereby we can say that the politics has failed. Okay? This is what we mean by politics. Essentially, a process of collective decision making where people are differing in their opinions with respect to the questions regarding objectives or means to achieve those objectives. Okay? So that is what we mean by politics. That is the most basic understanding that you can have of this term, that is politics. Another commonsensical definition that you can have politics here is this, and that is quite agreeable to many. That is all the activities that we see on media, television, newspapers, whereby various political leaders, while pursuing power, are indulging in. That means they resort to various kinds of activities in their pursuit of power. So they play tricks, they make comments, they criticize, and all that is being done to attain power, to maintain power, or you can say also to increase power. So politics in that sense also means this activities performed by individuals to firstly attain power and then maintain power. And politics in that sense is very much connected with power. It is very much related with power, the structures of power, the question of its distribution. Okay? So politics also gets related with the power because the decision making on political arena, decision making involving political action, actually relate to the application of power, which also gets determined by the distribution of power. So there is clear link between politics and power. Okay? What is political action? You just understood politics. How do I define political action? Political action can be defined in the similar manner. That means action that involves the process of reconciliation of disagreements among the members to find out a common binding solution. Politics or political action aim the same thing, that is finding out the best common solution to the common problem. Okay, so I think this is clear. This is the meaning of politics. In the next video, we are going to understand the basic thing about state, civil society, the differences, and also the related concepts of governance and authority. This was all. Thank you.